Well, good morning or afternoon or evening, whatever time it is that you are looking at this. Welcome to the Prosper Leader member call. We do this twice a month. We kick off the month. And if you can mute yourselves during this, you'll get a better recording. And so we kick off the month. And then we come back on the third Thursday to kind of close out the month. And I'm so thankful to be here. Those of you who've been patiently waiting, had a little technical challenge, but we will get through by the grace of God. I'm so thankful to be here. And we're going to start with prayer. And then this is an incredibly important topic that I'm super excited to bring. And my intention is that we'll have both the teaching side and then we will have some practice time in community. And this is the place as sisters, as women, linking arms to help each other across the personal finish line. That's the vision that God gave me for the Prosper Leader membership. And so we're going to do that. We're going to encourage each other. We're going to practice with each other. It's a safe space. We're going to get through any of the things that might be holding you back in getting new clients, in getting the sale, in growing your coaching business, in making the impact that you are called to make. So let's start with prayer, and then we will jump right in. Father, I thank you for this amazing group of women. I thank you for your love. I thank you for the way that you're working. And I ask for supernatural wisdom, grace, discernment, understanding, and the awareness of your presence. Speak today in this call. Open our spiritual ears to hear you. May each woman hear the exact thing that she needs to advance in her high call, in her purpose, in her vision. And may you be lifted up. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Okay. So I'm looking, some of you guys already putting some things in the chat. So, thank you. All right. Here's what I want to talk about in terms of, this has come out of a couple coaching calls this week, and it's seeming to be prevailing across. So some of you are getting leads, and February, by the way, across industry-wide was very low for everybody. Everybody was really struggling. I've talked to a lot of coaches, and February was a little bit of a tough month. My experience has always been by March, it starts picking up, and around Easter, it gets really, really good. So do understand that, not true for everybody, but there are ebbs and flows. I mean, I'm sure, there's a bell curve. I'm sure there's some people had amazing Februarys. The key is, you know that I've been teaching you. Obviously, you've got to have a solid lead generation system, okay? And there's all new ones coming in, and many of you are using Caroline. I've used Caroline for years. Here's the thing. When she does bring you leads, no matter how many, 2, 3, 5, 10, when she does bring leads, it's super important what you do with those leads. And so the common conversation was, yes, I had 3 leads or I had 5 leads, but I didn't get any sales. And so I dug in speaking, and there was a really common thread of what I saw across all the coaches that I spoke with over the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to go over some of those things, and then we're going to jump in, and actually during community time, we're going to practice. And so this is the value that you're here live, because of course I don't record the community time. So let's start from before the call, and let's talk about the 2 or 3 or 4 things that really will keep you from getting the sale, from getting the new client. Okay. So the first thing happens before you even get on the phone. Okay. And that is, what is the self-talk going on for you before you get on the phone? So I get some people that are coming in already with a preconception that none of their clients will, none of the people they're talking to are going to be able to afford them. So they're already shooting themselves in the foot that nobody has money right now. You know, there's a recession. Nobody's going to be able to afford me. My particular kind of client won't be able to pay. And so already before you even start, you've shot yourself in the foot. I heard that probably, 3, 4, 5 times already this month. The other has to do with confidence in yourself. If your program is good enough, if you're good enough, self-doubt. That's why I did the newsletter this week about self-doubt. And I had one client that was still thinking about a negative comment she had heard 15 years ago. 15, she's not on this call, but 15 years ago. And so she's a solopreneur, like many of you are. And so she doesn't have a big company. And so someone that had a bigger coaching company said, you just don't have the resources. What would happen for you if you weren't around? You're not stable enough to offer the clients what you need because you're not a big company. And so she has carried an inferiority, like, until I build a huge company, I can't build a coaching business. Well, can you see the problem with that? Until I get big, I won't be able, no, that's not going to fly, right? And I immediately, God, sometimes he just really gives this to me while I'm coaching, and God showed me a picture right there. I said, you have to focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. So tip number 1, if you're feeling a little bit of self-doubt, focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses, okay? And so I gave her the visual because she was feeling small, and I saw like this big cruise ship, and then I saw like this little speedboat. And I said, okay, the cruise ship, it's got like bars and swimming pools and can carry, thousands of people. It's got its advantages. I said, but you're the little speedboat. Can it do this? Can it turn on a dime? Can it adjust to world conditions? Can it be really personalized and know the client firsthand? The speedboat can. The big cruise ship, tough to turn. It's slow. Establish bigger companies. So remember that there's always something unique and a strong point that you have. God has you right where you are with your strong point, okay? And so remember, I've taught some of you, one of the things to do is to take a piece of paper and just start writing down all the ways you add value to your clients, okay? Whatever it is, I pray for them. I'm very focused. I bring a lot of love. I bring my own personal experience. I bring, my education, like all the ways I helped them. I help them to really, get back in tune with themselves. I help them to know God better. I help them to believe in themselves. I help them to release trauma. So whatever it is, I want you to get so focused on how you help them and the problems you solve. Okay. And I've had many of you do this, and you keep that sheet of paper of all the ways that you add value. You keep that right there on your desk where you're doing your coaching calls and where you're talking to prospects. Before you get on the phone, you read that and you remember and you go, oh, wow, I really am adding a lot of value. I do bring a lot to the table. Okay. So you remember that I've taught you in the past about being prayed up, practiced up, prepped up, and pumped up. Remember, I've taught you that in previous master classes. So before you even get on the call, you're prayed up, okay? And you're prepped up. You know you're offering, and you're practiced up, and you're prepped up. And so part of the prepped up, now we dealt with the negative self-talk, also the negative images. So before you ever get on the call, I want you to visualize, just like I taught you before doing a speech. I want you to visualize having an amazing conversation, that there is just rapport and trust, and understanding between you, and that you really communicate clearly the problem you solve and the value that you bring, and there's just this connection, and you envision the client saying, yes, I want to work with you. And you visualize clients just coming to you from the north and the south and the east and the west. You envision the joy, tap into the feeling side of it. You envision the joy and the feeling of all these new clients coming in and your business growing, and you just tap into the frequency of that. Okay, that's all before you ever get on the phone. This is huge. This makes the difference. Okay, so now going beyond that, let's look at what happens that keeps you from getting the sale. Where are you missing the mark? Okay, and so number one, this is so obvious, and yet I can't tell you how many clients, when I get in there and I ask them, I say, did you clearly communicate what you offer, and did you ask for the order? Like, believe it or not, 8 or 9 times out of 10, they say, no, I really didn't. Okay, this is big. You know, Jesus said you have not because you asked not, right? And so you got to start at the very beginning. I want you to really, like, some of you, I still see like you're fumbling and like, what was my offer again? And what did I charge? And so you haven't like internalized, you haven't really grabbed a hold of, this is what I offer. This is how much it is. This is the problem that it solves. Are you ready to get started? Right? And so if you're not asking, you know, like Jesus said, you have not because you ask not. So many people, a lot of you are doing a lot of work without getting results. For example, a lot of you are getting on social media. You're really working hard on social media. So you're showing up, you're doing lives, you're adding value, or you're putting out posts, or you're putting out emails, but you're never asking for the order. And I say, if I went to your group, that's great. You've added 100 people to your group. That's great. You got 100. If I went to those 100 people, those 50 people, those 200 people, and I asked them, are you really clear what Kim does, what Tracy does, what Kate does, what Nancy does, what Victoria, like whoever, you know, I'm talking about you and your group. If I asked your group, what do they do exactly? What are their products or services? What problem do they solve? Would they be able to answer that? Now, here's one of the reasons that they can't answer that. So one, you're not asking. Number two, you're not asking consistently. You're a moving target, right? Because you think, well, if I keep changing, I'll find something that my clients want. So they're not really sure. So you're talking about something here, you know, it might be emotional. Another time you're talking physical, and over here you're talking about, and they're really not clear what you offer. So how do you solve that? When we're talking about social media and things like that, you should have an intro of how you introduce yourself, and you say it all the time, and you should close with it as well. So they get used to, they know you as what kind of coach and what problem you solve. Okay, so when we're talking about getting the sale from your leads, number one, not being prayed up. So your self-talk, your negative ideas, you know, of what you're not enough or whatever's getting in the way. Then you get on the phone and you have this great conversation and you build rapport, and they really like you and you really like them, and it's warm and fuzzy, but you never ask for the sale. Okay, that's the next one. Okay. Then, if you do have this great call, the next big problem, you are not really clear on the problem that you're solving for them. So that's a two-part. You haven't listened carefully or researched carefully to know what their pain is. So if you don't really know, you don't know how to ask the questions. Okay, so you know, I like to do it on several ways. You notice if you do a free call with me, there's a questionnaire built right in. And those of you using Coach Accountable, this is so easy. It's a worksheet hooked to the call. So when they're filling out to schedule with you, they're also answering 5 questions. And some of the questions are what's going really well, what are you excited about? And some of the questions are what's your biggest struggle? What, where are your concerns right now in your business? So, or in your health or whatever you're dealing with. So it's very important that from the worksheet to the conversation, that you really clearly know their pain points. Okay. And then the conversation is around how your product or service will solve that. Very specific to their problem. Okay. So that's the second area, is you're not solving a very clear problem. Okay. Now I'm going to take this a whole nother level of solving the problem to get more sales. Okay. Are you ready? Who's ready? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. All right. Is this helpful? Give me a thumbs up. Am I hitting right where you need? Okay. So here's a big one that most of you probably haven't thought about, but it's huge. Okay. Tie whatever problem that you're solving, whatever service, product that you're offering, if you can tie it to an economic benefit, if you can tie it to them being able to make more money, your chance of sales will go up at least 25-30%. Okay, why? Most of you are dealing with women, and most women have a hard time choosing to invest in themselves. They will do something for their animals, they'll do something for their kids, they'll do something for their spouse, they'll kill themselves to come up with money to help their kids. Okay, how many of you know what I'm talking about? But when it comes to spending money on themselves, how many of you know that's really hard for most women? So let me give you an example. Maybe, okay, I'm looking at Kim. So maybe Kim is, she's really good at helping them find their saboteurs, where they're self-sabotaging or where they're having, self-doubt, right? And so they're really convinced, wow, I need that. Yes, I do self-sabotage. You're right, Kim. I really need what you offer. And yet they don't buy. Why? That final step. And so this is tied in twofold, okay? On the positive side, you want to deal, remember, pain and pleasure motivates people, okay? So I want you to hit on both sides, the pleasure of working with you, the gain, okay? And the pain, okay, of not doing something. So on the pleasure side, saying, how would your life be different if you no longer had this self-sabotage? Now tie it to the business. How much better would you be able to be on your job or your career? How many more sales would you make? Or how much better would you be in your business? How much better would you be at attracting, new clients if you dealt with this problem? Now I've tied it not only to, I'm going to feel free, I'm going to feel so good. You're going to help me emotionally, or you're going to help me physically. I'm not going to keep sabotaging and gaining weight. But wow, you're right. I'm going to make more money too. Now I can justify investing in a coaching business, or, the product or service that you offer. Now I can justify it. Now, the other flip side of it is, so you've got to get them to feel the absolute benefit, both like emotionally, how good that'll feel, physically, how good that'll feel, relationally, but also if you tie it to financial benefits, how they'll be better at their career, they will justify more paying for you. I want you to understand, in all sales, people buy emotionally. This is just pure science. They buy emotionally and they justify logically. Most people, very few people buy logically, okay? So if you can help them have both, that they just feel it emotionally, how great it'll be to be free of that thing that has been holding me back. How great it'll be to have that. And I'll be able to make more money. So I'll be able to pay for this if I'm making more money. Okay. The other side of this that you must bring in is CIA, the cost of inaction. Okay. So I remember this. Okay. So if you, in other words, if you don't do anything, what's going to be the cost? Physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, if you keep going the way that you're going. Because if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results. What's that going to be the cost? Okay. I'm telling you, this is so powerful that I don't know now, over 30 years ago, the first time I listened to Tony Robbins' Personal Power, and he allowed me in these little cassettes, he allowed me to just get this vision of this life that I wanted to create. Almost all of it that since then I have, like, it really was so powerful. Just the how I wanted to live in all ways, the schedule I wanted to have, the home I wanted to live in, the body that I wanted, the finances, like everything I wanted. And he just had me so to feel that, right? And then he did a shock of all shockers. He said, now, what if 5 years from now, and you could, if you were talking to your client, you know, it's 2023, what if it's 2028 and your health is exactly the same or worse, if you guys are dealing with physical health products, or your finances are exactly the same or worse, or those of you dealing with like clutter or the home or something, your home, or those of you dealing with relationships, your relationships are exactly as they are. So in other words, your wallet, your bank account looks exactly the same, your health looks the same, your home, your relationship. I'm telling you guys, that was so devastating to me, because at that time I was living in a 1-bedroom, unfurnished apartment. I had no money. I had a car that was breaking. I mean, you know, I just come back from the mission field. I was in a mess. Okay. And that thought moved me into action. That was my first getting involved in my first network marketing company. And I'm telling you, I got, not only did I get a job by making this change, I started building my network marketing before work, during lunch, after work. I mean, I was no joke. I was a force. I was having home meetings every night, but that's how I broke into my first 6 figures. Okay. But it was that cost of inaction that drove me. Like, no, like, God forbid that I stay like this. Whatever it is, your health, your weight, and so if you know their pain and you can show them how you can help them out of their pain and how that'll affect them economically, and you can bring them back, that can you really afford not to do something right now? Can you really afford to keep doing what you've been doing? Okay. How many of that is helpful? Give me a thumbs up. Give me something if you're hearing me on this. Is this useful? Okay. So again, not prepping, not asking clearly, not being very clear on the problem you solve, and tying that to economic benefits and the cost of the inaction, of them not taking action. Okay. And the last one I'm going to share, there's more, but I think this is enough to really take you guys to another level to think about this. Okay. The other thing is, you want to be sure, and yes, we're gonna do questions. Renee, are you asking a question? Is that?
No, someone's texting that they're trying to get in. Do you see someone in the waiting room?
I will go look. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you had a rhythm going there.
I don't see anybody waiting. Have them get out and get back in, because usually it gives me something and I'm not getting anything anywhere.
Okay. All right. Are you guys seeing the text?
Denise.
Okay.
Denise?
Maybe she could get out and get back in. I'm not seeing her anywhere.
Okay. I'm sorry. Keep
Let
going.
me look here in participants if something comes up there. No, I don't see anything on mine. So maybe she could get out and get back in. Okay. So the other thing I want to talk about, all right, is what I'm going to call like a fallback option. That you need to have a fallback, or like a giant net, so you're not losing. Okay. So especially if what you're offering is high ticket, especially if it's, around the $1,000 mark or more that you're asking for, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And for some people, they just can't quite get there right now. They just can't even imagine it. Okay. If that's the case, you need them to have some way that they can work with you, that they can start getting help, and then work up to that, as they have the trust. Okay. So I do that several ways. And this is really not hard for you to do. I mean, you just have to make the decision to do it. Okay, there she goes. Now I'm getting the notice. There we go. Okay. Thank you for doing that, ladies. Looking out for each other. I love you. I love you that way. I'm working with a little tiny mouse here. So, but it's okay. We're doing it. It's powerful. Okay. So those are all of the areas that keep you from having a sale. And so then the final way to make sure that you have something powerful to offer is to have a fallback. Okay. So one fallback can be a low ticket item that is not as expensive. Okay. And you can do something that doesn't have to take a lot of your time, but you're still serving. So for example, for that reason, because I have compassion, I still keep my laser coaching option. Okay. Where, in my case, I have not raised the price. So it's very low. It's $300, to work with me. And that's, unlimited 20-minute laser calls with me. Okay. And so most people can find a way to make that work if they can't, have full-on coaching with me. They can't get my coach certification or full coaching. So that's one way, is that you do have something that allows them to do it. The other way that I often do it is if you can record a course. And, nowadays, this is really easy. And I'm going to do another AI masterclass to help you guys just see how fast you can whip things out and how many resources are available right now. So I'm going to do more on that. I'm thinking, and maybe I'll poll you guys when we get in the community time if this is helpful. But so, of course, I have some courses that I've already done. So if you've already done a challenge and you've recorded it, you've got the videos, or you've already done a masterclass and you've got the videos, something like that would be helpful to them, then you can offer them that at a low price, or even gift them. So it's not unusual that I give them my jumpstart or my manifest 5-day challenge, or something that I think will really help them, my, God, money, and me, whatever their problem is, that it'll start really giving them a leg up. And especially like if you have like a 3-day challenge or a 5-day challenge, so that they like spend time with you over a few days. Right. And of course, in Coach Accountable, you can just drip this so easily, right? It's all automated. And if any of you, coaching with me, if you need to know how to set that up pretty fast, I'll help you. So, but the thing is, if you've got some kind of masterclass or challenge or something that will solve the problem that they're telling you they have, that will begin, this will be huge in a lot of ways. Number one, you're having compassion. You're giving them something where they are. You're helping them. You're going to feel good that you're helping them. But there's something that happens in that they are listening to you over a period of time, and they're really building a trust with you. They're building a rapport with you. They know you now. And I can't tell you how many people, after they finish that, and they, for me, it might be that they say, I just love the way you weave scripture into everything, or I just love the way, and it really makes them want to work with me. And then they come around and they purchase coaching. And that happens often. And so I want you to be sure that first and foremost, you're showing up prepared. You are, you're dealing with that stuff that we talked about. You are asking clearly for the order. You are focusing on the problem you solve very clearly. You're tying it to an economic benefit. you are sharing the cost of inaction. And if they still can't do it, you say, you know, this might work for you. And you offer the low ticket thing, or you reduce it. You go from, you know, and if you normally have only a 6-month program, why don't we get started with just 1 month? Or let me gift you this masterclass or this something to get you going, and let's talk again in 5 days after you've watched those 5, or let's talk in a week after you've listened to all of that. Okay, so those are some tips, all right, that will really up the level of you getting the sale. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to stop the recording, and we're going to have some community time and really kind of practice your specific situation. All right, so let me stop that.